Mr. Jim Shockey, how are you, sir?
I'm good.
I
Hopefully you can hear me and see me.
I can see and hear you. You are in a pretty awesome location. I've heard it on a few podcasts. I'd like to get up there and take a chance and look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
it's
too.
uh, it's our hand-to-man museum.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Well, I we don't really need to introduce you. I mean, you're pretty well known to any of our listeners, but my name's Tim Brown. My co-host is Nolan Rolston, and we do a little podcast up here. We both live in Iowa, and we're kind of going over, our hunting heritage, our hunting legacy, kind of a different look at the whole hunting game, if you will. And we really appreciate you coming on here and giving us some of your time.
Yeah, no problem. Now are your visuals as well, or just it's just audio?
We're gonna do both. We're gonna do
Okay.
some on YouTube and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm recording it all, so
Okay. Well, I'll probably just keep walking and stop once in a while, and it just
heck yeah,
got to be doing something. Otherwise,
it's
I'm wasting time not exercising.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
You got to be getting ready to go up north, aren't you?
Yeah, you betcha. The guys are headed up there. I think today they open up the Canadian border, as far as I know. So we've
Yep.
got our team headed up. It's a little bit late for our first sheep hunts, but hopefully we'll get the majority of our season done this year.
Yeah, that's
Good deal.
great. I'm so glad it's open. I'm so glad that we can get back to somewhat normal life, right?
Well, we'll see how normal it is and how
Yeah.
long it
Yeah.
lasts.
Yeah, no kidding,
You
right?
never know what these guys that are running this planet are going to do next. So
That is the truth. That is the truth. And um I
Oh.
I lost you.
yep, I don't know what happened
There we go.
There you go.
There you go.
So I wanted to take kind of a different take with you on this whole thing. And I just wanted to kind of go over, you know, the legacy of the Shockey family. And I know that your daughter and your son are in the industry, and your dad's episodes of Hal and Lynn were the best episodes on that show. It was so good to watch those guys. It was hilarious. But
Yeah,
just
they're characters.
it was great. But can you give me a rundown of your whole family, how your dad got you started and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for us, I grew up in a trailer park, and we didn't have a lot of money. So if my dad didn't get a moose every fall, we didn't eat meat. I mean, I can remember eating macaroni some winters and not even thinking twice about it. I didn't really put two and two together. But hunting for us, for my dad, was about meat, literally about providing for the family, and for him, and if you watch the TV shows over the years, he didn't care about antlers. That was the last thing he worried about. For him, it was how fat and big the deer was, or the moose. He always said you couldn't make good soup out of antlers, so who cared about them?
Gosh,
But,
my dad says the same thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's for him, for dad, so that kind of put a deer. It made it basically a hamburger running across a field. That's all it was for him. There wasn't any deep spiritual connection to that. It was just meat. So him and I, we kind of parted our I guess philosophies when it came to that. To me, there's a spiritual relationship between the animal and the hunter, and I had the luxury. He provided for his family very well, and it allowed me to not have to worry about that so much. I mean, not saying he ever gave me any money, because he sure didn't do that, but he gave me a good start in life, education and opportunity to hunt. He taught me how to hunt, so that allowed me to be what I am today, and allowed me the luxury of embracing the spirituality of what hunting is all about.
Yes, and that's kind of the whole reason I wanted you to have on, because you have a different perspective than most of the shows out there. I mean, I started watching your show, and then I can see your show through the Meateater Show. It's kind of the same. You guys kind of have the same vibe going on, and that's kind of what I gravitate towards. I really like
Yeah.
the whole adventure
Yeah,
of it
me
all.
too.
Yeah, Steve is he's a bright guy. He's a bright light in our industry. I don't get a show. I mean, I don't watch a lot of TV, but don't have time. I'm spending too much time out in the wildlands. But
Yeah,
but
you're living the life.
Steve gets it.
Yeah.
And he's a great ambassador, a great spokesman for hunting. I mean, hopefully as he gets a little bit older and gets more experience, he'll start embracing all hunters all around the world and all hunting styles, Africa and whatnot, and golf. Hey, Steve, if you're listening to this, golf is actually good. Golf is a good thing. It's good exercise, and walk and carry your clubs. It's a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah,
And it goes well with
Yeah,
hunting.
sure is.
I listened to his podcast this morning while I was out doing my roadside survey for pheasants, and oh yeah, he was bagging on golf pretty hard. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny.
That's spoken like a true 25 handicapper.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Let's like I say, this is an invite to Steve. Come on up. We'll go hit the links for a few rounds and
Oh man, we're gonna have to
teach you
send it to
about
him.
yeah.
Oh,
If I can be a fly on the wall for that, I'd come up too.
yeah, no kidding, right? That's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. It's a good skill. It's very close to archery, actually. The same, it's you and your bow, and there's nobody else you can blame when you screw up a shot. That's just what golf's all about, is that personal, internal challenge and struggle against getting excited in that moment. Forgetting about that ice time, the 3 seconds of ice time that you have to have on any hunt. When you're pulling the trigger, whether it's a bow or muzzleloader or rifle, you've got to have ice time. And golf is the same thing. It's the exact same discipline. And like I say, it has the added benefit of being good exercise, which archery doesn't necessarily have if you're practicing archery all day. Anyway, like I say,
Yeah.
Steve, you got an open invite. Come on up here.
That's great.
We'll play around together.
That would be hilarious. Make sure you got the cameras with you. I'd like to see him swing a golf club.
Yeah, I doubt that Steve and I can go to the bathroom without a camera following us around. So
Well, that's a good point.
There'll
yeah.
definitely be cameras.
That is a very good point. That's so funny. So then, how did you get into the outfitting side of everything? Not to switch gears or anything, but
Well, I started writing 1984 for outdoor magazines, and my intention at that time was to make a living in the outdoor industry. I had some antique stores in Vancouver, Canada, and in my spare time in the store, I'd write articles, hunting articles, and I spent a lot of time hunting. I mean, when I asked my wife to marry me, I asked her November 1st, 1984, to marry me. She said yes. We set a date for November 30th, which was 30 days away, obviously, and I left November 2nd, came back November 28th. I went hunting.
Wow.
So it's hunting. Like I say, Louisa knows exactly what she was getting into when she married me. But anyway, I got sidetracked there. What was the question again?
like the whole outfitting side of it.
How did I get into outfitting? I had a lot of downtime in the store on slow days. You guys are too young to remember the early 1980s. Interest rates went up to 23%, and everybody listening to this has got their mortgages right now at 1% and 2% and 3%. Trying to imagine paying a mortgage at 23%. I didn't think I'd be able to afford a house ever.
Right.
And antique business wasn't exactly thriving, so I had a lot of downtime, and I could go hunting. I mean, I started writing articles about it with the intention of having a job in the outdoor industry. And now, a writer in those days didn't pay much, but it was a start. And I probably published 1,000 articles over the years when I was writing for the magazines, and that gave me a profile that I could, when television came on board, it was about 1991, I'd say. ESPN there was a TV show called North American Hunter. It was the old North American Hunting Club, and so I knew the editor of the magazine, and that's basically who started the first TV shows were the editors of the various magazines. So they were looking for hunts and videoing hunts. And I mean, let's face it, most editors are pretty geeky. So I hope there's some of the editors listening right now. They're great writers, but that doesn't necessarily translate to great on-camera talent. And so they were looking for hunts, and I was out. That's what I did out here in British Columbia, and I knew the outfitters in the area, so I organized the first hunt, and first TV show that I think I was a co-host on was 1991 on ESPN, and that's when I kind of started putting two and two together. That television was coming on stream, the cable networks were looking for content, and outfitting was great content. You had not just your own hunt, but you had all your clients' hunts that you could video, and so I just kind of came up with a model, that business model, and I think Ralph Lauren came in and bought all my antiques one day, like literally 3 stores worth of antiques in Vancouver.
Wow.
So I closed up shop and moved to Vancouver Island, went to an outfitter up on the north end of the island, and asked him if he'd sell his territory to me. It was Wayne Weeb, and he said yes for an exorbitant amount of money, about 3 times more than the territories were worth at the time. And I said, yeah, here you go, here's a check. So,
Wow.
well, actually, that's not exactly true. Here's a check for 1/3. And we made a deal for a balloon payment at 1 year from that date, where I had to pay the rest of it. And I had the house mortgaged, I had everything. Like Eva's inheritance was definitely used up, and yeah, and it was a pretty scrambledy year. But because of the writing profile I had, we managed to squeak through, and I got the balloon payment, to that outfitter. And he would have foreclosed for sure. He was old school guy,
Right.
When men were men and their word was good. And,
Yeah.
and I said I'd pay him. If I didn't pay him, he would have taken it back.
Right.
We'd have lost everything. So that's how I started in the outfitting industry, was on Vancouver Island. Bought my first territory in 1992, and we were in full swing by 1993. And bought my first outfitting territory in Saskatchewan in '96, and got it up to 3 territories. And 2001, after 9/11, an outfitter up in the Yukon, there's 19 territories up there, but one outfitter owned 3 of them. He got cold feet. Nobody knew the world was ending, basically, and he wanted to sell out. So myself and another fellow went together and bought all 3 of his territories in the Yukon. Again, a pretty scrambly part of my career, because my partner at that time was, let's just say, he was a very sharp businessman, and it was, and let's say I felt like a minnow swimming around with a big shark in a swimming pool.
Right.
So it was interesting. I lost a lot of sleep, got a lot of gray hair, not as many as what Eva gave me over the years, but
Right.
but we did manage to squeak through that one, and ended up with the Rogue River outfitting territory in the end, which brings you up to speed on my outfitting career.
Yeah,
Just
that's great.
Absolutely amazing place up there too. I see the videos and I'm just like, man, that's bucket list material. But
Yeah, it's my favorite place on the planet to hunt. I get asked all the time, what is your favorite place? So it's the Yukon. I mean, it's so pure, the wilderness there. I mean, our territory is 12,000 square miles, 7.5 million acres roughly, and there's not a single road in that whole vast wilderness area. Just our cabins on lakes. It's all fly in. It is
definitely looks like, for a guy like you, it looks like a great place to unplug, which I'm sure you need that a lot.
you can this, as you can see as I'm talking to you, I'm pacing. I know exactly what a wolf feels like when it's in a cage in a zoo.
right.
So I much as I love this museum, I'm pacing around in here. I can't wait, and I'll be up there in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And yeah, unplugged is a good way to describe what happens up there. I mean, you just leave civilization behind. You say goodbye to civilization. you've probably heard me say that on the TV show. When that airplane leaves, it's goodbye to civilization. And you know what? This year, I'm going to say good riddance too. It's just been a pretty messy last. Everybody's struggled, and as I watch what's going on, what popular press is, some of that vitriol they're spewing out every day, I just makes me want to throw up. So rather than be part of that, I'm just going to say goodbye for as many weeks as I can up there, and I'll come out hopefully refreshed and rebooted and ready to deal with civilization again when I get back out.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, that's the whole reason that last year I went out to Wyoming and hunted sage grouse. So I'm a big bird hunter, and I took my dogs out to Wyoming, and I was just tired of everything and just to get away. And that's about as close as I could get to the Yukon for my lifestyle anyway. But yeah, it helped a lot.
Yeah, last year was miserable. I mean, let's just keep our fingers crossed that they don't morph this thing into something, that they even have a better control on us. I don't know. The world's going in an odd direction right now. I'm glad I'm not your guys' age. No offense that I'm being a chicken and running away, but
hey,
but it's you're gonna have some interesting times in your future.
Yeah. We need to figure something out, and we all need to do it, and we all need to stand up and not necessarily take it back, but just let's speak our minds instead of just go with the flow.
Yeah, that's our problem as hunters, and outdoors people. We tend to live and let live. We don't stand out there and spit on people and scream and wave placards in their faces. So we're kind of an uncounted majority, but it's because we don't stand up and be counted.
Yeah,
we can if we would vote en masse in one block, we would control the outcome of every election that from here into perpetuity. But we don't. We either A, don't vote, or B, don't get together and vote the same way.
Yeah.
We're whatever. We're a union member and we want to vote for an extra $1 an hour pay or whatever, or extra holiday, and that party will promise that, so we do that. That's the same party that wants to take the guns away and stop hunting. So you just have to decide what your priorities are. And for me, I mean, there's outdoor lifestyle, field to table living, that's a priority. And I don't care about the extra $1 an hour. Mind you, I mean, I've worked hard in my life, so at this point, I can probably coast, touch wood. But so I get it. It's important too for other people, but we have to maybe rethink about what our priorities are, each and every one of us. And like I say, if we stood up and voted together, imagine.
No,
we need to assign all hunters need to give their vote proxy to one person who votes en masse for all of us, and you would determine the election.
Yeah,
it
would.
I mean,
it would be a
landslide
landslide too. It would be a really big landslide if that happened.
Yeah, it would, absolutely, 100%. Instead of voting against each other, or not voting, let's just organize.
And I feel that's how they do it, so they can keep us divided, just because they know deep down.
Yeah, they don't care. I mean, I've gone out to our federal parliament and talked to the politicians, and they literally told me, well, we don't really care about you guys because we know you don't vote. You're not, and those of you that do, you neutralize each other's votes because you don't vote the same way. You vote for different reasons.
That's an extremely good point.
Yeah, they literally told me that we don't care. Like, we don't care about you guys. And so we if we're going to continue like that, then we're going to have to keep taking our medicine, and our urban rulers are going to tell us what we can and can't do in the outdoors. If that's what we all want, I mean, we're certainly going to get it if we continue to not vote and not vote en masse in the same way.
That's exactly right. So it sounds like to me that we're going to have Jim Shockey running for Prime Minister Canada.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be careful you don't listen to your own press. There's a few people who have told me that, but
right. Yeah.
I've seriously considered running for office out here it would be akin to your congressman, that kind of a
Yep.
position, a federal member of parliament. Because I think, we need people that that stand for something to actually run for office. And, I don't care if they stand for the Green Party's, platform. I mean, great, perfect. If that person has a better platform and is better able to win the election because of their platform, then wonderful. Work harder if your platform is different. People with common sense, I think, need to be in there, and I've considered it, but you get in. My wife, Nana Weezy, as she's known nowadays, she said, "Well, you really want that introduced into our lives? You're going to be
Right.
vilified, and marginalized, and ostracized, and hated, by many people. And do you really want that in your life?" And it's something I've struggled with. And on top of that, the political parties that I could run for, which would be on the, towards the right a little bit, the conservatives up here, believe it or not, they've told me, well, they've come to me and asked, actually, and would I consider it? But then they've also reconsidered that question because they know that I would be a target with my hunting background, just pure and simple hunting background. That's something that the press would run with. Now I'm proud of it, and I'll never apologize for being a hunter. But the way the mainstream press would spin things, and the way the opposition parties work nowadays, it's personal attacks, not platform. So yeah, back to your question or your statement that you can consider possibility of me running for prime minister. It's probably not going to happen, but maybe. I told them the next election, if they blow this one again, or we don't all stand up and vote and get the right party, and right meaning not right wing, but the correct party. Then maybe I'll consider it in 4 years when there's the next election. I mean, I can't even imagine what kind of world Canada is going to be in if our prime minister is in for another 4 years. Oh my goodness sakes,
man.
Well, yeah. What's more terrifying is, like you mentioned, our age, but what's more terrifying is, you got grandkids. You're a grandpa. Think about those little ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's going to be a very different world that they live in, unless good people start standing up, like we talked earlier about, and being counted, and not. I'm not talking violence. I'm just talking about we've had the luxury of being apathetic, and we can't do that any longer. We actually have to stand up and be counted, and I don't know if it's going to be this next this election coming up, the next one up here in Canada, or down the States. You guys are going to have the midterms here coming up, and I don't know if it'll be in this decade, but at some point somebody's going to have to do something. Otherwise, just look back in history. If you want to see where this all goes, just look at history. It repeats itself over and over and over again. We never learn.
It sure does.
Yep, it sure does. So to switch gears on this a little bit, out of the political side, let's talk about what was it like to have your daughter with you for the first time when you guys went out hunting on, not necessarily on video, but when she showed her interest, and what was that like as a father to take your child out?
Oh, it was
embrace it.
It was amazing. I mean, she came back from university in Australia. I think she was 21, and I remember coming into the house. We were all excited, and after about an hour of talking, catching up, she said, "Oh, and by the way, Dad, I want to learn how to hunt." And I mean,
Lord.
I just fell on the floor, and Louise, she, both of our mouths dropped and said, "What?" And Eva was a competition salsa dancer at the time, had never hunted. Louise, my wife, is, she was vegetarian when we met 37 years ago. She would never hurt a fly, and she, both of us were just shocked. I actually, I don't know what's going on over there. Hang on a second.
Yep.
I'm going to try and get somewhere where it's a little quieter. I think they're starting to blow off all the leaves off the pavement out in front of the museum. But anyway, when Evie said to me, or said that, I actually said to her, "You haven't talked to me since you're 14 years of age. Now you suddenly want to learn how to hunt." And she said, "Yeah, well, I'm old enough." Or she said, "I'm old enough now that you and I can be friends." And so I jumped on it right then. I made a phone call and set up a hunt in Africa. Went to South Africa. So her first animal was a warthog. And Louise was there too. I mean, God bless Louise. She is she's an angel. Even though she is not a hunter, she was there. Her daughter hunted her first animal. She wanted to be there. And Eva made a perfect shot. She's an incredible shot. She's always been a excellent firearm and bow shot. She'd win all our family competitions whenever we'd be actually having a shooting contest. So she made a perfect shot, and tears in her eyes. I mean, it was incredible. Any father of a child out there who would know exactly what I'm talking about when they go on, they're there for their first big game animal, with their child. It's incredible. It's it's one of the most important moments that you'll have in your life with your children. So that's a memory I'll never forget. And we captured it on camera too, which is kind of cool. It's there forever now.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing that kind of why we started this podcast, to get people that don't really understand that raw emotion and that kind of feeling. It's not just about shooting the animal to us. It's about the whole experience, and for you to bring somebody else in, it just makes it that much more fulfilling in my book anyway.
Yep.
Oh,
Me too.
Yeah, it's not the press would have everybody believe, and they have since Bambi, that we're bloodthirsty louts that have no higher sensibilities, and that it's all about killing something, and it's not. It's a hunt is made up of family, adventure, humor, culture, and of course animals, but in equal parts. So that even not the hunting part alone, but just the animal part is only 20% of a hunt.
Right.
The rest is 80%. All those other things that make a hunt. And then when you're talking about animals, I mean, looking at a bird is part of a hunt. Finding a bird's nest, finding a shed antler on the ground, finding a skull of a mouse. Even looking at the trees, the botany in the area. That's all part of a hunt. The majestic views. That's all part of that 20%. I mean, by the time you break down the 20%, the actual kill of an animal may represent, a fraction of 1% of a hunt, and what hunting is all about, and who hunters are.
Yep.
So it's it's great to see that there's a younger generation that is picking up on that and understand.
Well, it definitely gets thrown to the wayside nowadays, and I try to surround myself with people that have that same views, but there sure is a lot that don't. There's a lot of people out there doing it for the wrong reasons, and that's kind of what Tim and I are trying to raise awareness to, and kind of try to get people to think outside of the box a little bit and see the bigger picture.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, you have a voice. You have a podcast. You have followers on Instagram and Facebook. I'm sure Twitter. You use that voice just like you're doing right now to spread that word around. And a lot of times it's educating people, and that's what you're doing. You're educating people about what hunting really is and who hunters really are. So I think it's wonderful. And the louder your voice and the bigger the volume, the higher the volume, the better it is for hunting. So
Yeah.
It's nice for me, knowing that there's like younger generation hunters like you guys passing on that message and the tradition. Again, things are different now than they were 40 years ago. As I said, my dad didn't care about deer at all. He didn't care about conservation. It was purely, that's a hamburger, let's kill it and get back to work.
Right.
Yep.
Nowadays I don't think that calling animals meat, or looking at them as meat is going to stand the test of time into the future. We're going to have to address, like I say, the fact that hunting is a much deeper, has a much deeper meaning than just sustenance.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's not going to stand the test of time, and nor will it hold up in a serious debate.
Right.
So it's good. I love it that you guys are doing this kind of thing. It gives me hope for the future for hunters and hunting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, there's a few handful of guys that we look up to, and the ones that started it out, and you are definitely in the book.
Absolutely.
On that deal, on being our inspiration. So we thank you for that for sure.
Well, I'll like I say, it was for me. It's a life, So it's not an act. I truly believe everything that I've said in the past, and I'll continue to live that till the day I die.
Yep.
And you preach that, and that's one thing I like. You've preached several times on your videos that you got to live what you are, and if you're not living what you are, what are you even doing?
Yep.
Well, it brings into question why are you doing it?
Yep.
And I've said this before in the past, and people go through phases in their hunting lives. At the beginning, it was what I got. The what. What was it? It was a big one. Is it what I got? How big is it? Then I graduated or morphed or mutated into the how I got it. Did I use a bow and arrow? Did I use a muzzle loader? Was it a tough hunt? How much energy did I put into it? And now I have to say that I'm at a point in my life where it's the why. Why do I hunt? And that I think I mean, I can't tell you what the future is for me, but I kind of feel satisfied when I'm at this point in my life now in my hunting career, that the why is where we kind of end up as hunters. Why we hunt. For my dad and my father-in-law, Hal and Len, it was family, camaraderie, fun. They loved it, and you know what? That's a good enough reason. That's good enough. For me, maybe it's why I hunt is because it's who I am. I've come, like I say, and it's been a lot of miles on these feet, as you can see. I'm walking as we're talking, and you travel in one direction for 50 years, you end up somewhere, and that's where I've ended up now. Is that is this understanding of the why we hunt.
Yep, that's the biggest takeaway out of anything that we've said this time is everybody needs to kind of figure out their why.
Yeah, that's a goal.
That I can absolutely relate to that. I can relate to that. I have evolved over time, and I think back of why I thought I did things back when I duck hunted in high school and stuff like that. But you definitely morph over time as you mature, and you start to think about it in a little different way. And that's great that you said that, because I needed to hear that.
Well, happy to help out, guys. Spread the word around. Like I say, well,
definitely,
it's over to you to look after the next 30
years. I'm going to get yelled at if I don't ask you these questions, because your garden pictures on Instagram, all the ladies that I know and the people that are into gardening want to know, how big is that stinking garden?
Well, it depends if you include the apple and pear orchard and the vineyard, because it's all part of the garden. It's all in the fenced area because we have to keep the deer out of there and the bears. I don't know, maybe an acre for sure.
Nice.
It's not all raised beds, but yeah, it's I love it. I mean, it's part of the field to table living.
100%.
I can't go hunt in the summertime, so why wouldn't I garden? Provide for the family. I just actually like every morning I go out there and graze with Nana Wheezy. She's actually with our kids down south right now, but that's what we do in the morning. We go out there and graze, and in the evening I get back from whatever I'm doing and go to the garden and graze and walk around and look at the grapes and try them and apples, and it's like I say, it's hand in hand with hunting and fishing. It's providing for your family. Living field to table is all of that. You can't
Yep.
say I only hunt. Well, I mean, you can, but I think when you're living the lifestyle, buying cellophane wrapped meat, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. But we as hunters, we try and avoid that as much as we can. Doesn't the reality
Right.
of today's world, unless you're living off the grid, you're going to go buy some cellophane wrapped meat. But by the same token, what's the difference if you go buy cellophane wrapped apples or beans? Why can't if you can grow your own, if you have a garden plot? I mean, I've never understood lawns. Like, why have a lawn? Why not?
Right.
Why not have a garden? It probably takes about as much work, and if you do it right, it's I think better for the environment. I don't know. I mean, but our garden is organic. I don't put any chemicals on it. No fertilizers, or if it is, it's compost that we grind up into the soil. But I love it, and my goal at one point in my life, was to live for a year without buying anything. No food, just even salt. I was figuring out how I could get salt, and I got down to where the last details were I was going to have to grow some kind of wheat and grind it, and I said, okay, this is getting silly, and I was running out of money too. So it's a very expensive way to live, believe it or not, even though it's field to table. So I love the garden. And you know what, the hunters, I'm sure, that follow me on the social media platforms, they scratch in their head going, I don't want to see a picture of a ear of corn.
I love it.
I want to see a hunting picture, but that is hunting. That's life, and that's what I try and show is that hunters do have higher sensibilities. I show a picture of a rabbit, I show a picture of a duck, a flower, and we and because I genuinely appreciate those things. I appreciate the sound of birds in the trees, and the wind through the branches of the trees. These are things that hunters know, but we don't always articulate.
Right.
And with my voice, I've tried to show that hunters are humans, and we have all the same senses and the same feelings, except ours are more real. They're not contrived. There's no hypocrisy in it. We know as hunters that life begets death, begets life, begets death, and we're an active participant in that cycle. And we don't try and Pontius Pilate wash our hands of the blood that's we let the butcher and the industrial farms raise our food for us, and we buy it sterilized in a package. I mean, so
Yep.
but all of that, like I say, the gardening is part of it. So I try,
Right.
on social media, I've tried to show that, there's the, this is the bigger picture about what hunting is. It's field to table living.
Yeah. Well, I know there's a pretty big following in Iowa that absolutely love them posts, because that
Oh,
was like the number one thing that everybody was asking me. Ask him about that garden. Ask him about so when you go grazing through there, what's your like number one go-to?
Peas. In fact,
Peas?
I've got a post that'll be going out there pretty quick. I give everybody. I have a picture of me holding a pea pod and saying, okay, world's greatest garden vegetable. Here's your choices. A P, B P, C P, D all of the above.
D all the above.
Oh,
Yep.
that's great. Oh,
it's my social media. I can do what I want. If it's not fair, it's not fair. Sorry.
That's
That's
right.
right.
It's so
I have a
great
feeling
too.
peas are going to be the world's best vegetable at the end of that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's great. Well, we don't really want to take up any more of your time. Yeah, I know it's pretty valuable, but we really appreciate you talking to us
Well,
and giving us some time.
it's my pleasure, gentlemen. I love to see, like I say, your generation taking this baton and going forward, and doing a better job of it. Better understanding of media, and you're making the effort. So I'll support that as much as I possibly can.
Yep, we definitely want to
Thank you,
keep it
Jim.
going for, years to come for sure. So,
Well, if I can help again, let me know. You know how to get a hold of me.
yep, definitely. I
All right.
appreciate it, Jim. Real quick though,